Ex-Gamescom, ex-Tony Hawk, we've got to ask the simple and obvious question, what's new and what are you guys showing here today?
So we're showing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. What it is kind of like that return to form to the old school classic experience in the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series, right? So what we're doing is we're trying to recapture that Tony magic by bringing back old school controls, really tight level design, and kind of that just like old school feeling that you really had when you were at home or at a friend's house and playing all together and hanging out and playing Tony Hawk and maybe eating some old pizza and stuff like that.
Not too old. This game's been a while.
It depends how young you were, right?
But obviously there's been so many little side titles of the series, and as you said, this is going back old school, but I think it feels like you could effectively cherry pick the best from all the Tony Hawk games out there. So how did you guys approach deciding what worked and what needed to be ejected?
Ooh, that is a great question, actually. So the best thing we wanted to do is make sure that we kind of narrow the focus a little bit and make sure we kind of get back to the roots, right? So all about, like I said, tight level design, basic gameplay, and then we build off from there, right? So we go in, we reference a lot of the Pro Skater titles. We do have a couple maps that kind of are like homages to old levels. Like, so we have an old school, which is kind of like School 3 is what we call it, so it's like a new school. And then we also have a level called The Bunker, which there used to be this demo disc that you used to buy like a magazine with. Actually, in the United States, it was given out by Pizza Hut. So, and it had one level on it, and we played this level so much that we wanted to kind of give it a tribute, right? It was a level called The Warehouse. So The Bunker is kind of a combination of a level called The Warehouse as well as The Hangar. So we kind of put these two, made it feel fresh, made it feel new. And the school we also kind of expanded because we're supporting 20-player online multiplayer. So we felt like we needed a lot of room for that, and it's all on dedicated servers. So the minute you hop in, it's like a real skate park. People are skating, people are having fun, and then you can queue up for missions or different modes together. You'll be instanced out, and then you pop back in. So instead of like navigating a menu system and picking through modes that way, your free skate is kind of your hub and your menu system at the same time.
Now, you talked about what's classic coming back in. Just talking about the nuance of the control for Tony Hawk, well, certainly the skaters. It feels like there's only so much you can do with it, and obviously that has been iconic of the series thus far. But I'm just curious to know, in terms of what you can do new, or how you go about it. Do you use the template of the previous game, or do you try from scratch?
So we did bring back the classic Tony Hawk Pro Skater controls. I mean, there are a couple new wrinkles, like you didn't used to have a way to accelerate or brake, so we've added that a little bit, so you can push R2 to go ahead and like kind of give yourself a good kick. That way you get started, so no more just jumping up and down to build up speed. And then also you can brake, so you can kick, you can brake, you can accelerate. There's one thing though that we did add that it's very, very subtle, but it's something that your traditional players might have to get used to. It's called the slam mechanic. So what you do is when you press the grind button when you're in the air, it actually kind of pulls you down to earth. And so, like, let's say I'm going over a rail and I'm like, oh shoot, I missed it. I can push the slam button and I can actually land down on the front of it instead of completely missing it or going over it and hitting the middle of it or, you know, going elsewhere, whatever. This way, it kind of gives you a little more control in the air per se. So you have to kind of get used to it, but we feel like it kind of adds a lot to the player, and it's very subtle, but it also increases the speed at which the game is played, which we think is a lot of fun.
Talking about that slam, I mean, how's that transition visualized? Is there an animation for it? I mean, does it look natural, or is it something that's more indicative of a gameplay mechanic?
So it is very indicative of a gameplay mechanic. You know, like if you hold it for long enough, your character starts to kind of like bear down a bit, and you see the speed lines. And so Tony Hawk's never really been about simulation, right? It's always been about like kind of having that fast-paced, arcadey style gameplay that, you know, kind of people really enjoy to pull off, like, you know, 40 different multiplier combos, etc. So.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about visuals, about animation, about style, background, environment, skaters. I mean, the series throughout its entire life has went a little bit more realistic, a little bit more cartoony. So where did you guys decide what works for Pro Skater 5?
So we wanted to be a little more stylistic with this one. We wanted it to kind of match that fast, fun, frenetic gameplay, and we wanted the visuals to feel the same, right? We wanted to feel like it belonged in kind of that arcadey world where you are able to go, you know, 50 feet up in the air and pull a 900 and do a backflip into like some sort of crazy manual on 2 wheels. We wanted the visuals to kind of communicate that and feel that and pop a little more as well.
You mentioned 20-player multiplayer,
yes,
correct? Why 20? Why not 24? Why not 16? Why was that the magic number?
It had a 0 behind it. I don't know. So we picked 20. We wanted to use that as a baseline, and we just, you know, kind of tab performance, and, you know, who knows where we'll end up there. So.
Well, let's talk game structure then. Obviously, you mentioned that your free skate is the game hub. But in terms of progress, career, such like that, along with the multiplayer, I mean, how does it all come together?
So the levels are actually multiplayer by default. I mean, you don't have to. We're not forcing you to. You can easily open up a private match and then just kind of play by yourself as well. But by default, you'll jump in. It's all hosted on dedicated servers. So you jump in. You're in free skate by default. You have a chance to kind of like, feel the level out, see where the things are, collect some of the hidden items. And then when you're ready, you can queue up for what we call a mission. So the missions are your kind of main game career progress. And what's cool about these is you can attempt them by yourself. So if you go in, you queue up a mission, you're instanced out of the park, and then you can just do it by yourself. Or if you have a party with you, like your Xbox Live or PSN party, you can bring them with you and you guys can play the missions co-op. So if I have a buddy that's playing online with me, we can play through the whole game together.
Yeah. And can you sort of example one of the missions or a couple of missions? I mean, how are they visualized?
So one of my favorites is called Big Head Survival, right? So in this particular mission, your head is slowly getting bigger. Do you remember like the big head cheats like in the old school games? We want to kind of make a little fun and do a little riff and play off of that. So RoboMode has made this game mode where your head gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you have to land combos to make it shrink. So of course, the rate at which it gets bigger is faster and faster, and so you have to do higher point combos to get it down fast enough. So, and that's one of the ones where you just have to see how long you can hold out, how long you can survive, and then eventually your head will explode. Everybody's head does.
Everybody's head does explode eventually at some point.
It's an inevitability, right?
Creative Park's back?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so for the new gen version of it, do you scale up? Do you add more crazy stuff? I mean, how do you build on it?
It's actually really exciting this time. So when you jump into Creative Park, you pick your template, let's say, what kind of background you want, what kind of theme you want for your level, and then you pop in, and it's really strange because you get in and you're like, wait a minute, I'm skating. I'm skating around this empty level, what's going on? And then you just pop out, and then all of a sudden you're back into a HUD mode where you can place obstacles. It's really easy to kind of work through, navigate, and then when you want to try it out, you can just press the button again, boom, you're right back in and you're skating. So it's like you skate, you create, you skate a little bit more, you try it out, you kind of rendition, and then when you're ready, you save it, and if you're happy with your level and proud of it and you want to show it off, you can publish it online. Yeah.
And with that sort of publishing, I mean, that sharing sort of system, is there rankings, scoreboards for, if I wanted to work my way through like the best parks out there, how does that work?
Of course there is, right? So, I mean,
not just a massive ceiling.
Exactly. I mean, you can't just have people peacock without peacocking against each other, right? So if I build a really cool level, it'll go online, there's a leaderboard system, and when people come in and play my level, they can say if they liked it, maybe they didn't, they can give a little feedback, and the more and more people like your level, of course, the higher and higher your level will climb on the leaderboards. So, I mean, more people like my level, the higher I am on the leaderboards, more people play it, more people see it, maybe more people like it, and then all of a sudden I'm internet famous, which, I mean, it's probably the best kind of famous right now, isn't it?
Big name skaters back in?
Of course, absolutely. Do you want me to go through the list?
Well, what I'm curious about is decision-making process of who should be included. How do you guys sort of narrow that down?
Oh, man, that is really tough because there are so many awesome skaters out there. We had to actually really work closely with Tony himself to kind of curate and pick the list of pro skaters that we'd include for this game.
Why am I thinking this in itself is its own like dating show type thing, you know, like Bret Michaels, Rock of Love or whatnot, where it's Tony Hawk and you have to work down what particular skaters make the grade for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like maybe there's like a rose ceremony at the end of it, and it's like, I choose you. I'm not sure what his process was, but I mean, we worked really closely. We had a lot of chats, had a lot of reasoning behind it. We had, of course, we have to have a couple classic ones, like, you know, like old school skaters like Chris Cole and Andrew Reynolds, a couple of the new guys as well, like Nigel Houston, who's absolutely phenomenal, Jaws, Aaron Homoki, like, who's really famous right now for like just jumping off of really high things and doing crazy stuff. So we've got a great mix of skaters in there.
We were saying that about jumping off high stuff. Do you try and maybe not cater the content around those specific skaters, but maybe elaborate on certain missions that key into those skater characteristics?
Actually, yeah, we do. We have a couple ones that are, like, let's just say that we've taken cues from each of the skater styles to, the mission isn't specifically for them, but we made sure to include missions that would be indicative of their style. Right.
Now, you're in this lovely hall, but you will be wrapping up in a few hours and heading back to the studio. So just curious to know, what's the roadmap for the immediate future? You head back for the next month. What's the focus on?
Probably having a couple of pints.
I like that, developers honest about these things.
Yeah, but after that, of course, it's head down, in through submission, and getting the game done, getting it complete, making sure everything feels great, and making sure that when we get out there day one, everybody will be happy with what we make.
Okay, and sort of then final then, what formats it's on, and when can people get playing it?
You're in Europe, right?
Yeah.
October 2nd, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Obviously, for all things Tony Hawk going forward, stay connected to Gamereactor.